Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lost Coast podcast. Today, we have Todd Mitchell with us, and he operates Cybersecurity for Biz, and he helps people protect themselves from the viruses out there in the computer world. So, we're going to welcome Todd to the show. Thanks for coming, Todd. We appreciate you being here. Why don't you give us a little background on how you got started in the cybersecurity world?
Well, thank you, Corey, for having me. So yeah, I used to do cybersecurity and software development for the Marine Corps, actually. Um, and One day, my best friend, who was a solopreneur, he's a DJ, and he got a ransomware attack and lost his database, and music's all digital. So a DJ with no music is kind of useless. So he was freaking out. And he called me up and he said, "You got to help me find somebody that can deal with this." So we went on the internet and we looked up all these cybersecurity companies, and none of them want to work with small businesses. They're all large and enterprise. We found one or two after searching for a couple of days. We finally found a couple that said they worked with small business, and we called them. And their idea of small business is 250 employees with 10 million in revenue and 5 guys full time in your IT department. Um, which obviously, most of us are solopreneurs working from home. So this is like, wait a minute, So um, I ended up helping him in my spare time, and he brought a couple other people that I helped. And he's a big entrepreneur spirit, and he just kept poking and poking at me until he finally convinced me to quit my corporate job and open my own business. So I came into this with a big passion of helping that underserved segment of smaller businesses that none of the big companies want to mess with because we don't have enough revenue or enough employees to sell bulk licenses to. So that's how I got started.
So your buddy basically got hacked and they took everything. Did you ever find it all again? I mean,
Yeah,
reinstate.
I was able to recover his, we got his database back, and we're able to help him out. But yeah, um, it's it's unfortunate when that kind of stuff happens because there's no real how do I say, there's no real cure for the ransomware. Um, you see in the movies, they always show like the FBI can pull anything off a hard drive and stuff, which is technically true. Technically you can, but it costs ten to $15,000 to do that. So that's not really feasible for most people to get that done.
Right.
Um, but you can prevent that kind of stuff if you do backups, because then if they steal your database, or they make it so that you can't use it, you've got a copy that's only a week old or whatever that you can still use. So um, it's just a matter of getting everything reconfigured and finding out what went wrong so you can fix it.
Now, what about like somebody's social media accounts? I mean, are those you can protect those too? And is that possible?
Um, it is and it isn't. The biggest protection you can do for your social media accounts is using that multi-factor authentication. A lot of people will ignore it because, I mean, it's a hassle to have to dig up your phone and look for the 6-digit code every time you want to log into Facebook or something. But I think of it this way. I use multi-factor authentication. Think of it as a deadbolt lock on your front door. It's there. Why wouldn't you use it? Kind of a situation. Because it really does provide a layer of prevention. If I had your username and password, anybody in the world can get a hold of your username and password and get into your Facebook account. If you got multi-factor authentication on there, now only a small number of people that can actually get a hold of your phone and look up that code can get into your account. So you just reduced the amount of people that can hack into your Facebook from millions down to a handful. So it really does help quite a bit with that. And the other thing I would say on that is, if you don't set it up, then the bad guy will after he hacks into your account. And then when you go to change your password back, he's getting the code, hitting the little "wasn't me" button, and you can't get back into your account.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because I had a friend of mine who actually his wife's Facebook account was got hacked or something, and they lost it all, and they were willing to pay, or I should say he was willing to pay to make his wife happy, whatever it would take to find that stuff again.
Right.
I'm not sure they ever did find find
Eh,
it.
Probably not, because most of those social media companies weren't designed to prevent hackers. And a lot of times all they'll do is tell you to open a new account. And then you
Yep.
can hope you have backup copies of everything you posted, because uh, I've seen that a lot. And another big scam I see with the social media is where they take over your account and then hit up all your friends.
Yep.
My daughter's had this happen a couple of times where somebody took over her account, posted something on there to all her friends, talking about, some sob story about how she's all alone on the side of the road after dark in the rain, needs gas money, and then half of her friends send $20 or $50 or whatever before they find out it's a scam. And then now you just lost your Instagram account. Plus, you just got all your friends just got their money taken from them. So, yeah.
Yep. I guess it's safe that you don't have very many friends and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Or a bunch of broke friends
Yeah.
that would send money. Yeah.
They're just offering to come get you. Yeah. Which that's good too, right? No, that's so yeah, so you actually go into a small business and you kind of walk through what they got in their processes and stuff like that, and then show them what they need to help protect their system then basically. Why don't you go into a little bit of that on how when a customer comes to you, how you're going to start the process and how you lead and direct them?
Yeah. So usually when people come to me, the first thing I do is kind of find out a little bit about um for me, it's all about the information. I'm helping you protect either your business information, the secret sauce to the cookie recipe, or maybe it's your customers' information. People in the financial world or the healthcare have a lot of your, medical or financial information in their database. So I go and find out, how do they get this information from you? Where are they storing it? How do they transmit it back and forth to wherever they got to put it? And then we look for ways that we can make those more secure, either uh, with using what tools you're already using, because I try to do that. I don't like changing people's, and making them use different tools, but I'll have whatever software you have and just figure out how to make that safe and secure so that the data is only going to be accessible by who needs to see it, and safe from hackers. Um, and then the next thing I do is we kind of follow that up with documentation of um, looking at the policies and procedures the that you're using to make that safe, and documenting that kind of stuff. So you have a written security policy, planning for the future. What happens if something does go wrong? You need an incident response plan, a data breach plan, things like that, so that no matter what happens later on, and as your company grows and you bring in more employees, you've got things in writing that you can show them, hey, this is the way we do business. This is how we keep this information safe. Uh, and that's most of what I do. For me, uh, dealing with solopreneurs that work from home and smaller businesses, uh, their most valuable asset is the people that they have in their network and their information. Because it's not just about the data that um, can hurt their business, it's a reputation. I mean, if you're a bookkeeper and you got 10 clients and they all get hacked because of your computer got hacked and you took down all your who's going to hire you to be their bookkeeper now after you just made the news for getting all the rest of them hacked, all the so there's more to it than just having an antivirus and making sure, the basics. There's a lot of other moving parts to it, and it's kind of a big system. So I try to help people basically with all of that to make sure they have everything addressed.
Right. I was just going to ask you about that. So, most everybody here, we got some kind of antivirus program that, we subscribe to. I'm not sure how good those are or not. It seems like, I don't know. It seems like they know how to send the bill out. That's for sure every month, right? What's your take on those? I mean, I've heard stories all the way from, yeah, the people that have those antiviruses also have the hacking company that, you know, it's kind of a mismatch of the development of all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of how it commingles. I mean, what's your take on those situations?
So it just depends on how much protections you need. For most people, for home use and things like that, the the main antiviruses that everybody always hears about, Norton, McAfee, Avast, those Windows has one built in. Um, those are all fine for a normal level of protection. If you've got some heavily guarded secrets that you're trying to keep secret, like the grandma's secret recipe for the cookies you're sold your whole business on, or you've got like a bookkeeper with a bunch of people's financial information or tax preparers, um, or it may be a medical thing, and you need to, then you need a more robust security software than just the normal antivirus. The buzzwords for that is managed detection and response, and a keyword being response. So an antivirus, it's kind of like we see in those commercials where there's a guy standing in the middle of the living room and the house is on fire, and they're all like, "Well, help," and he's like, "No, I'm just the monitor. I'm just here to tell you it's on fire." And that's kind of what an antivirus does. It takes it, puts it in a folder that says quarantine, but it didn't get rid of it. It didn't block the whole, so these more robust systems that you need as a business owner, block, delete it from your computer when they find it, figure out how it got in, patch the hole so nothing else can get in, so it's a lot more robust of a system.
Okay. So when the client comes to you and, you're walking through all this, you set them up with all this. They're all protected now. Now, do you have like monthly checkups? What's kind of the status from there? I mean, I'm sure you don't need to be there every day, but what's the process from there until some kind of separation of the relationship, or the business sells? How does that all work for them?
So that's a great question. So the way I have mine set up is I do package deals, and it's basically on a 24-month contract. It takes the first month or so to kind of get everything into place and get the paperwork done, with all the security documentation and everything. And then once they're up and running, from then it kind of goes into a monthly maintenance, to where, um, if they do have any questions or anything pops up, then I'm there for support. Other than that, I'm just monitoring on the back end to make sure everything's still running the way it needs to be. A lot of my clients will have, over time, they bring on another employee or they get a new computer, so we have to go back and redo some things. And that's just kind of all included in the package. Um, and then usually I haven't had any clients leave so far. Usually when their contract is up, um, we kind of slip into a month to month, and they just stay on with me as a consultant and protecting their systems for them.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Just slip into the month to month after that, kind of like you need to get the bulk of your work is all done at the beginning, so you need the bulk of some money and you need 24 months to kind of
I,
make
I
it
kind
work.
of styled my packages after the phone company. I ain't gonna lie. I stole it. I was trying to figure out because I had this big upfront cost and nobody could afford it. And I'm like, well, how the heck is everybody buying these $2,000 iPhones at Christmas, right? And then I was like, well, you got the monthly phone bill, and they just take that and divide it out and add it over the contract. And then when it's done, everything's paid off, but you still just pay for that line fee or whatever. So your bill goes down, but you're still on that month to month. And that's so I basically kind of styled my package after that.
No, okay, yeah, that's perfect. That makes sense. I mean, everybody makes it affordable for small businesses, like you say. That's the main thing. Like I said, the big businesses, no problem. That's little peanut money. But a solopreneur or somebody, small business owners got, two or three employees or something. It's hard to swallow a $500 bill sometimes every month,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
it's when you can know that you can break it down, and you're getting what you need really. That's the whole thing. Because I,
Right.
I guarantee some of them packages, some people probably don't need the whole McCoy, like you say. So,
Yeah, and that's I've done a real good job about tailoring down. That's why I like working specifically with solopreneurs and micro businesses. I kind of uh, stay in that 0 to 10 employee range because I have my packages priced for uh, a solopreneur with a laptop and a home router, and then we go up from there. But it's only what you need. I don't mess with network stuff because most of us working from home don't have a server closet and a bunch of Cisco switches and stuff like that. So I kind of tailored it down to exactly what you need, and I can do. And if you don't fit the mold, I'm got no problems at all with making custom packages to do exactly what you need. So
no, nice. I can't see why this wouldn't work for, almost 99% of all offices, really.
Basically, yeah, yeah. And there's certain ones, unfortunately in America, for some reason I haven't quite figured out yet. Maybe it's just not to get political, but I guess Congress hasn't been real functional the last decade or so. But um, we're the only one of the only countries out there that does not have national cybersecurity laws. So uh, there's certain industries that do, like the financial industry or the healthcare industry, government contracting. If you're trying to get a government contract, they've got a bunch of cybersecurity laws for that. But as a general rule, most businesses, unless you're in one of those industries, there is no guidelines or rules telling you you have to do any of this stuff. So you basically have to take it upon yourself to try to keep your customers' information safe. And um, so that's uh for a lot of us it's a needed thing, because what people don't realize is um the cost involved with the cleanup is huge. I mean, one of the standard practices, if you have a data breach, and we've all seen this in your personal life, you get that letter in the mail from the bank or the mortgage company that says, oh, we had a breach. This is what happened. This is what we're doing. This is what you can do. And oh, by the way, we paid for 2 years of LifeLock credit monitoring or whatever. Uh, well, if you think about that, if you have a data breach, I mean, how many customers do you have? I mean, even if you've only got 100, a database of like 100 leads and, 10 or 15 clients, if you had to go buy all of them LifeLock for the next 2 years, even though it's only $100, okay, so $200, but that 200 times that 100 people, and now you're into the thousands. And if any of them do have identity theft or something because of information that you got leaked, now they take you to court. Now you got lawyer fees and court costs and damages. And so this can jump up into the hundreds of thousands real fast. And for most small businesses that, are working from home and barely make 100,000 a year, that's it. You're out of business. You're done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. I mean, I'm against government telling us everything we need to do, but we also need to be responsible for ourselves. And like you say, that's why it's so important for small businesses to actually put something
Yeah.
like this in place. I mean, so the government doesn't have to tell us, right? Because
Yeah.
that's one of the things we don't like, is government always telling us everything. But sometimes I understand there's that fine line between the government trying to help protect ourselves and then, of course, overprotecting us. Sometimes we
Right.
all need to be a little smarter, and we hope as business owners we make the right decisions to help properly protect us and our clients.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand.
And I
Um,
think it's more of a small business problem than a big business. Home Depot, Target, they get hacked. 75 million credit card numbers get disclosed. It cost them $50 million to clean it up. They just write it off. It's a bad year.
yeah,
Next year they're back. That happened to you, you're done. You're lucky to keep your house, let alone your business.
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, and the cost, like, so you come in, you help the small business. That's just another cost doing business that they just need to put into the program. Number one, they get to write it off. Number two, they can pass that cost off on the other end to the
Yeah.
clients. I mean, it's just part of the process. That's why it's there. So it's really shouldn't be a hard decision for any business owner to come on in and put that in place, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not a tax lawyer, so I can't give the official advice, but um, I'm fairly confident that you can easily write off all the expenses of cybersecurity as a business expense, and especially if you're in an industry or in a business model where you're collecting information from your customers. You definitely want that cybersecurity and write it off as a business expense, and yeah, as we joke, pass the savings along to your customers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's how the business works, right? I mean, the end consumer usually takes the biggest hit. So,
Yeah. In
that's
today's world, especially with a virtual, that's just cost of business.
yeah. Yep. No, that's great information. Todd, I think this is a great educational piece for our listeners here to kind of learn and kind of be able to do it. So our listeners are probably thinking, this Todd guy, how do I get a hold of him now so I can get some information more from him and see what my business qualifies for. So what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
The best way for them to reach out is basically they can go to my website and they can schedule a I have offer a free consultation, so they can go there and schedule a free consultation and we can sit down and talk. If anybody wants to, they can email me as well. And if they mention this podcast, then I'll give them a 10% discount. So,
No, I appreciate that. What exactly is the email address they should use to eat?
it's going to be consultant at cybersecurityforbiz.com. And that's with the number 4.
Okay, so
Yeah.
consultant at
Actually, I guess you can see it on my
cybersecurityforbiz.com.
shoulder. Yeah, the cybersecurity for biz. So consultant at cybersecurityforbiz.com.
All right, well, that's pretty simple. They ought to be able to get that one down. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. Yeah, so there you go, listeners. You're gonna get a free consultation, and then if you decide to do something, you're gonna get 10% off. What more could you ask for? And plus, you're gonna protect your clients, you're gonna protect your information, everybody's information. You just have a lot of less headaches coming down the road. That's the main thing. I mean, that's the lay your head down at night kind of thing and not have to worry about it no more.
Yep. And if you as a business owner, if you try to get depends on what kind of insurance you have, but if you're getting professional liability insurance with errors and omissions, and you try to get cybersecurity insurance, those underwriters are going to start asking. They've started over the last year because of a new law that went into effect. They start asking questions. You know, do you have encryption? Do you have this? Do you have that? So they're starting to ask these cybersecurity questions. And if you don't have a good, solid cybersecurity plan in place, you know, I'm not saying it has to be me, but somebody needs to figure it out for you and get that in place. And if you don't, you can't say yes to all those questions. They're going to deny your insurance or start doubling your rates because you're a high risk.
Well, that'll pay for it. It's right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody needs to reach out to you then. That's pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Todd. I appreciate your information today on the show. Before we close this down though, why don't you give us an example of a great story? You know, and I know your friend we had at the beginning here, but another client maybe that you've helped and you've seen some great strategies for them.
Yeah, one of the first people that first time I encountered the financial industry was I actually had a bookkeeper up in New England that called me up and said her insurance would renew her policy because she couldn't prove that she was compliant with this new law. So I investigated, and that's kind of how I actually found out about that particular law in the financial industry. And it actually was only a week after they had passed it. And it wasn't even in effect yet because it had like a deadline for a year later, but her insurance was being a little proactive. But so I was able to help her get all the cybersecurity pieces in place. And then when she went back to that company and showed them that she was now compliant, not only did they renew her policy, but they actually cut her rates down. So she actually saved enough money that it wasn't quite enough to offset what I was charging her, but it was pretty close. And over time, it will be. Over a couple of years, she will have actually netted out making money on the deal in the savings. So, and not to mention, I've got several clients now because I do all the security for their computers, and I see probably a dozen a week of malware or ransomware being downloaded through a phishing email that our security software catches and deletes before it ever makes it onto their computer. But and all those are ones where they had the potential, any one of those emails had the potential of taking their business offline if they'd have clicked on that.
Wow, that's a little nerve-wracking, huh?
Yeah. Well, and that's why they call it phishing. I mean, Hollywood gives us a bad rap because everybody thinks there's some guy in a hoodie in his mom's basement clacking away on a keyboard or something, and that's how you get hacked. Nobody in Russia woke up last night and said, "Oh, let me hack into Corey's account." You get it, and it's called phishing for a reason because it's just like fishing. You just throw a bunch of junk on a hook and stick it out in the water and see who's going to bite. And so, every business is literally just one click and an email away from getting hacked, and they don't even, and there's a lot of times you just have to be very vigilant on what you're looking for and making sure that you're not, there's a little a little phrase called, think before you click, basically.
Yeah.
Take a look at those emails. Were you expecting this? Do you know this guy? Are they really trying to, and you see all the other scams from like PayPal and the Social Security Administration and all these other, and it's like, you just got to put a little common sense on there. It's like, when's the last time PayPal ever got a hold of you because they were trying to give you money? You know, them guys are doing everything they can to hold on to your money until you suck it away and put it in your bank account, So the odds of them emailing you out of the blue to tell you that you got a problem and if you need to call them right now to fix it so they can pay you, that ain't happening.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that in the world. They work on the line of credit.
Yeah,
Credit.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Todd, I want to thank you for being on the show today. This was great information. I mean, this is definitely something that can very well help small businesses, and I really appreciate you taking your time to explain that to us and making this available for the small business owners. I mean, like you say, there's not a lot of people out here doing this, and I'm glad to see that you're out here doing this. So, for our listeners today, if you got a small business and you need some of that extra layer of protection, and it might even cheapen up your insurance. So give Todd a call at Cybersecurity for Biz, and he can see what he can do for you. So Todd, thanks for being on the show again. And we are going to bring this to a close on the Lost Coast podcast. I want to thank our listeners today for listening, and we will see you again. Thanks for coming. Bye.